Oh, no. Same issue. Okay. I'll have to go back to them and take care of it. But what's up, everybody? Hard Money Bankers live today. We're doing the open mic early this week because our guest had to reschedule. So we're going to have our guest for Friday instead of today. So that's, I think you can obviously tell that the reason I'm wearing the hat is because of that. How about that? How about that?
I don't see us live. I believe you, but I don't see it on Facebook anywhere.
Probably if you go to because the streaming site that we use only allows 5, and I tried the LinkedIn one, it did not work. So now it's there. I'm going to share it right now.
Gotcha. Yeah, I see us on HMB PA, just not on your personal page.
Yeah, I'm going to share it right now, so then everybody in the world can go and it's not letting me do it. Damn it!
Can't deprive them of this content.
Cannot. I don't know why though. It's not letting me share to my own page. Maybe I just tag myself in it. Let's see if that works. No, it's not letting me do that either. You shared it to yours, right?
Doing it right now. So
perfect. So what's happening?
Going with our comedy show today.
Yeah, I think the stream. I think the charity stream though yesterday went well in general.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So I think there'll be. We should probably put the link somewhere in the comments. So if people still want to donate, they can. I'm sure there'll be everybody that missed it yesterday will be able to watch it, via the video. Will you be sending that out?
Yeah, tomorrow the email will be going out to everyone. So
okay,
it's going to be Red Day, Keller Williams for anybody who's KW. If you're not KW, you probably heard of them. They tomorrow's basically their annual do something good for others day.
Right. It's basically the give back day. So I think it's it was not intended to be that kind of timing. It just happened to be that kind of timing. And we found out yesterday that more or less it was Red Day. So
it goes to what we were talking about, right? You start doing something like that and then all these things start coming together, and that's
aligning themselves, putting the dominoes in place accordingly, right? So, anyways, yeah, I think that's. I think it went well. I think the cause was really good. It was nice to do that type of stream as opposed to talking business as much. Even though we did talk a lot of business, it was still nice to do that because it felt like we were doing something from our seats. But
just sitting at home,
right? Which we do anyway now.
All right, so I saw your post and I didn't understand it. So explain.
Which one?
You said Los Angeles, City of Angels. Why?
Oh yeah, you didn't see the Los Angeles news overnight?
What am I missing?
They announced last night that they're locking down till August.
Oh, that went the opposite way of what I was hoping for.
Yeah. So you asked, but yeah, and they threatened there's also something going around on the internet about a threat of if any businesses try to open up, they're going to be shutting off utilities at the businesses, water, heat, electric, and stuff. That's the process. Yeah.
That escalated quickly, as they say.
Yeah, that escalated quickly. So, City of Angels, man, what do you think of that? I mean, there's a real argument to be made that this is just an election battle at this point, because it makes obviously no sense. Was Los Angeles even on the radar with there was New York, Northern Jersey, California, Seattle, and then the rest of the world? Where did Los Angeles come from on this? Do you know? Did I miss something in the news about Los Angeles being a hotspot or something?
Not that I'm aware of, but I'm sure news on the other side of the country is a little bit different than the news we get, right?
Yeah, I just guess they just never popped up as the obvious group. Bear with me a second. I gotta fuck this in.
Now is that the city of LA or California? Because if it is just the city,
it's just Los Angeles.
The silver lining here is silver lining is they did listen to our podcast here.
They did. Yeah. No, I can confirm the governor made a decision after our podcast. Yes.
Right. That this is. I'm glad that it's just the city making this decision and not a blanket statewide thing, such as example Pennsylvania or New Jersey and New York. Right. I think cities are just in a different situation. It is what it is. And if LA is one of them, I don't know enough about them to really say anything. I am surprised with the information I have. It said August, and it's only May.
Yeah, I mean, that's a big, right?
And then that threat of turning off utilities, like, whoa.
I think there's a video circulating right now on the internet, and I think in my head, like, where does this lead to, right? And the reality is, I'm like, if people want to challenge it, which you've already, last night there was like a story about like some militia that was like lining up around a business to protect it. If people want to challenge it, then the next thing is like, do you have your own military and your own, government turning on you, on the citizens, right? Which is the worst case scenario in the world. It's just the worst to do that to your citizens. And then I go, as like a police officer or somebody in the military, they have to ask that. We're back where we started in the beginning of this whole podcast. We asked this question. They have to ask themselves, am I willing to do this to the citizens and the people? Like, why am I a cop, right? Well, I didn't realize this, and I was talking to Ann earlier, like bringing this topic up. She goes, have you seen like the viral video that went around? There's a cop.
Your wife.
Yeah, there was recently a viral video that went around. The cop was fired, and he was sitting in his car. Basically, I don't remember what it was, but he was saying like, where you're going to have to make some hard decisions as a police officer and in the military. Like, what we signed up to protect this nation. We signed up for the freedoms that we defend. And now we're going to be asked to enforce, taking away those freedoms from our own citizens. And in my opinion, I don't believe that anybody should be, like, any military person or police officer should do that. I don't think they should do that. I don't think they would sleep well at night knowing they did that to a citizen. If they were trying to protect somebody's safety, in my opinion, which this is what it's going to be put out there as, protecting safety, you can justify that however you want. But when you look at the big picture and make an educated decision, arresting somebody, like that lady in Texas for 7 days and putting her in jail for opening her, so like, it's an ugly, ugly time, an ugly concept that's being pushed. It's going to be tested. You close everything down to August, it will be tested. Like, I don't know how a lot of people are going to last this month. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we're at the breaking point. When we were talking back in March and April, we were saying, if this goes to May, what's going to happen? Like, everyone was like, we're okay right now. We can survive this till May. But now we are at the point where, we've said from the beginning, for businesses, this is a stress test. Can you do it? But on a personal level, that's the next stage of the game, so to speak. And I hate to call it a game, but it's what we say. It is what it is. The situation, I can't control the situation. The rules are set, right?
Right.
So I think we're at it. I think we're at the breaking point. When you see the rest of the world opening up and then U.S. doing the opposite, how do you not question it? How do you not say, what is something going on here? Like, what is it that they know that I don't know right now?
Right. Like, what joke did I miss? And, the only thing that I can say is just sitting out there is the election time coming up. And, and it comes down to that game that I was talking about earlier, which is like the juggling act of time. So it's like, okay, if you're trying to get, if your agenda is to get this person reelected during this time, and it benefits you to hurt the economy because it looks worse leading into the election, it's a juggle for the politicians to go, all right, look, if I lock this down until August, that means I have September, October to respin my narrative and make everybody forget about what I just did, blame somebody else for it, and then put me back in good light, right? So it's really a timing game. Right now, if you ask me, do I think that, like, I know George said Wolf isn't rerunning and so forth, but do I think that he could get back into office? I don't think he could. I think he's created so many enemies, and every single day it multiplies, that, like, I think politicians are underestimating how much damage they can do and get people to forget about it right now. And then on the other end of it, people that, maybe call it the Republican side, I don't really know which side is which in terms of what they're fighting for, but the other side wants it open as fast as possible because you look like a hero when you want to make sure everything recovered by the time you're in there. Because it's hard to get elected when you're like, everything is garbage right now. How are you going to elect the guy that left us in the state of garbage, right?
I certainly hope that you're wrong. I hope you're wrong here, and that it has nothing to do with re-elections, because you have to be a special kind of terrible person,
self-serving prick, right? Like,
yeah,
and that's what I thought. I'm like, I am disgusted, and I think I don't speak, I speak for myself, but I think there's a lot of people out there that are just grossed out by politics in general right now. Like, nobody wants anything to do with these people. because they just, and I'm not saying, I'm sure there's good politicians out there, but for the most part, you're just like, what are you doing? Like, is this real? This was all worth it? Like, this is what you wanted to do? Like, it's so self-serving. It's incredible.
Yeah. And then it's the trickle effect. How's that going to hit real estate, right? Like, how's everything going to get hit? You don't know.
You really don't. And then, yeah, so the fallout or the collateral damage, as we've been calling it, is what is that? So, I look at this and just think, hopefully there can only, I don't know. Nobody knows. I was on the stream with like Nick Tang's crew last night, and there's a lot of questions. Like everybody, even the most, influential players that are in our space or guys that were on it, everybody had a different opinion as to what comes next. And the reality is none of us know. None of us really know. But if you keep pushing it into a certain direction, it becomes more and more clear as to what's happening next, right? Like it's not, at some point you're just like, nobody really knows. And then you're like, well, if you're going to just put all the push it right up against this wall, there's only two places you can go at this point. And where, so I don't know if we end up there.
I mean, I think for anyone who's listening for real estate purposes, I would probably say the only data you need to wait for is the comps. We need the comps to come in. Everything else is speculation at this point.
That's interesting. That's a good segue into my next topic that I have written down, which is the comps. So I got to see yesterday or 2 days ago what I would say was my first pre and post COVID comp.
Well, let me first ask, would you agree with my statement that
which one?
Everything right now that is being discussed, no matter what show you're listening to, is speculation until we get the comp data?
Oh, you're saying like the figurative comps in life.
Yeah, like if people are saying the real estate market's going to stay the same, it's going to go down, it's going to go up.
Oh,
all speculation.
It is. Yeah. 100% speculation. It has to be, because we don't know. Like you cannot sit there and say, I know, because you don't. Like nobody does. I don't know. I'm only asking you to confirm that because it's like people who are, right now, everyone is in a place of uncertainty, right? And they just want to know from the industry experts, where are we going? I want to know it from you, where you think we're going. And my point is, stop trying to find that. Wait for these comps to come in, because that's the data that tells everyone everything. So stop trying to hunt for. I think it's human nature, though, right? Like it's just human nature. Like we have to predict the future. Like we feel more comfortable feeling like we have some control over our future that we don't have control over. Like it's just what we do, right? Like we always do that. Like, that's just the nature of it. You're like always hedging, always trying to feel like there's safety in this direction or reward in that direction. And I think it's just the best thing to do is what you just said, which is just stop speculating. And but can we?
I mean, I don't think gurus are telling anyone to stop. Gurus are saying, no, now's the time to buy, right? It's just like, stop. They're speculating. No more, like just as much as you. Maybe they do have more experience. So you could listen to them in that regard. But if for you to take any action right now, I'm telling you, you don't have enough data. Nobody has enough data. Right.
There's not enough data to, unless you're going to go in the conservative side. So all you can do right now is, if you're going to do business, do it on the protecting financial side, not on the offensive side where you're trying to make more money, because, all you can do is that's the best play here. It doesn't mean it's, are you going to hedge enough? I don't know. But
I mean, let's talk about that a little bit. That's exactly what lenders are doing right now, such as ourselves. Like we are not as aggressive as we were 2 months ago, period. And I'm just going to call it what it is. I think everybody who's talked to a lender realizes that at this point. And what I mean by aggressive, meaning those days of getting those 100% financing closed right now. It's just not happening, because the numbers we're giving, we are, as a lender would always do, speculate worst case scenario. But here's the thing, our worst case scenario still isn't known. It could be worse than what we're hoping for. And that's the risk we are taking right now.
Right. We don't know, and that goes to what I was just saying about that comp that I saw. And I'm not saying that it's the only comp I have or whatever is, or the one that speaks to the entire market. But for the first time I've seen now is the first data, and it was randomly on a deal that I was looking at, happened to be a deal pre and post comp, pretty good comp for pre-market and post-market. And it was a good one, because it was like backyard, renovated, fully renovated, nice renovation job. It gave me an accurate comp to like quality of work and so forth. And I don't know the situation and the person and what their motivation was, but it's rare to see it where a fully renovated property just sold literally it was like a week and a half after this all started in the marketplace, not before this is pre-lockdown, in the marketplace, when the marketplace panicked.
Do you have a rough date?
27th, I think it was like 2/27 was the.
So February 27th. Okay, so yeah, right at the beginning of this.
Yeah, it was like 10 days after the market dropped. It was still in China. Like we had like five cases over here or something. Like it was not even on our radar, but the market panicked. So that's the only thing that I could say would be like an indication of somebody maybe it was like an investor was like, I got to sell this thing right now. I'm out. Like, I don't know. But nonetheless, it was, a resale of 200,000 and then a 150 was the post-COVID comp. That's a 25% drop.
So you're saying that there was an ARV of 200,000.
House in the backyard.
Well, do you know the date of that? Like beginning of February kind of thing?
So that was the better part of it. It was like January. It was January 19th or something. So it was close enough to give a really accurate indication.
Okay. So you're saying you saw that could be terrifying if there's more. So basically what you're saying is you observed a 200,000 ARV in January, and then let's just, for the sake of conversation, say beginning of March, you saw basically the same comp at 150.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
25% drop.
25% drop on that. And and then I think about our conversation we just had with George, and, he's going, the numbers that he was throwing out there were, he's seeing a 20, or I'm sorry, not a 20. He's seeing, I think it was a 15 or 20% reduction in what he's able to sell for now. So, just from this limited data we have, because it's not enough data to say this is where the market is yet, where it's coming, it's not unreasonable for me to think, though, that between a 10 and 25% drop in the real estate marketplace is very possible. Like, I have at least some data at this point to say, like, a way to say to you, like, this is a reasonable expectation.
Not made up, not a speculation.
Not speculating, not just going, oh, because this happens, that happens. Like literally there's data saying at this point in our local marketplace, specifically in our marketplace. I don't know if that speaks to any other marketplace. I don't know if it speaks to even where you are in North Jersey.
Right. So this is specific to Philadelphia so far.
Specific to Philadelphia. Yeah. So, and to me, that's the first indication I've seen. I'm obviously keeping an eye very much on it to see when that pops up again, for sure.
I mean, so you have two markets. You have your retail market, which is people who, let's just say, are looking to sell their house. It's maybe hasn't been touched in like 10, 15 years. It's in okay to good living condition, right? Those are your retail market. And then you have your investor market, which is typically people who are buying the really beat up houses, probably haven't been touched in 40 years, maybe more, come in and fix it so it's almost brand new, right? So these are two different markets, right? Would you kind of get what I'm saying there?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Investor versus retail. So, I mean, I've heard from realtors that we've had on this show saying they're really not seeing a dip or challenge with buyers and sellers right now in terms of the retail market. So what you're saying that you just observed, that was more the investor market.
Right, but it has to trickle into the retail market.
Speculation, or that's how it always goes?
That's how it always goes.
Okay.
Okay. When I say so the one thing I have not seen, okay, so it's like speculation. Yes, let me back up. Speculation, because I haven't seen that comp go pre-COVID, post-COVID, purchased, renovated, sold on the retail. So I haven't seen that number yet, right? But I can tell you from a historical perspective of when the lag time, that's why I was saying George will know first before all of us, is it starts with the investors, and then the investors pay a certain price, and they're paying that price because, the buying pool is changing and the demand is changing. And why are they paying? Now they might be paying that only because of fear at the moment. So the shift in the marketplace, it doesn't necessarily go down 25% and never go up again. So it could go down 25% for 3 months and then all of a sudden the fear is completely gone and back up at a record speed too. So it doesn't necessarily mean we go down 25%. And it takes a decade to get back to 25%. That the time back up. But the question is how much time is it going to take? So But traditionally, yes.
And vice versa, it could keep going down, right?
Correct.
So if you're thinking of pulling your house off the market right now because you're thinking it's going to rebound, potentially you might be at the height right now.
Right. And it's always that game, like the prediction game, right? Like you're always trying to time the market. All of us are, the world, the future. Like if we had the crystal ball, it would work, right? Like that's in essence that game. And I think the ultimate fear, that really like lingers. And I know, I thought in my head, like what lingers in my mind, because I'm like, I can rebuild anything in my head, like business wise, or I can bring my, if I lost all my money, I could bring it back. Right. But I go, what if the ultimate thing to me is the scary thing is a dollar crashing? That to me is so unknown as to what happens next.
So you have a lot of experience in the market. For someone such as myself, what does the dollar crashing, can you define that a little bit more?
The dollar crashing would mean, there's a couple different things. One, you change, I don't really know how they would do this, but it would either be an exchange of currency, meaning the dollar crashing as in the consumer confidence of the dollar no longer exists across the world. So people don't believe a dollar is worth a dollar. So then
the US dollar that you're saying?
What's that?
The US dollar or like global?
The US dollar.
US dollar.
US dollar in the open global world is based on trusting it's worth XYZ. So we've now flooded the market, which we did in 2008, and it didn't seem to do anything. But from what it appears, we've flooded the market. So that's when you get into those inflation deflation conversations, which is the dollar changes confidence level as to what the rest of the world believes it's worth. So does it now take $10 to buy your loaf of bread versus $1 to buy your loaf of bread? Because there's too much of this product in the market space and everybody has it across the world, not just like our lending space, like across the whole world. So at some point, like that's when you have those like pictures of people with wheelbarrows of money wheeling them to buy a barrel of bread. And that happened one time in our history during the Great Depression, right? And it just, the dollar became worth nothing. So the way they changed that, from my understanding, was they backed it with a gold currency. So then you could actually you have a finite amount of this object that can't just be inflated or deflated upon printing press. And then we came off the gold standard. And then obviously we've gotten carried away with it. Now we've used it as like a world weapon. So the thing with that though, is like, I don't know, like everything else I can kind of see a possibility, good or bad, as long as the dollar is there, like with real estate in the market we're in. With that's a fear, I think, for everybody that's so unknown and so foreign in terms of like literally, are we all on Bitcoin tomorrow? And then what does that mean? What is like my bank account now worth? What can I buy with this bank account? And do I believe it's worth that? And then like, is there a run on the banks? Like all these things that next fear level, that would be the ultimate level, in my opinion. But besides that, which unfortunately is technically in play, but it was very much in play in 2008 too. That conversation, yeah, it was very much a thought in the back of people's heads in 2008, and we survived another cycle. So
I do find it interesting because it's like I remember that in 2008 when there was a lot, myself included, was like you're gonna destroy our economy, like, done. Like I just believed it. And like you said, no, we actually grew larger than ever. So it's interesting in the sense of I don't think anyone understands how it works. Meaning,
we don't.
Yeah. So when you talk about the belief in a dollar, are you saying the exchange, I don't know what it is right now, but let's just say it's 2-to-1 for a euro for a US dollar. Is that the current measurement of belief of the US dollar, or are these separate? Okay.
Perfect way to put it. This is the technical belief of what you can exchange $1 for. And I trust that my service exchanged for this $1 provides me $1 worth of value. But over, in the euro, I don't know what it's at right now, but like it's like 1.2 to 1, right? So like that means like I trust that my $1.2 worth of service to you are equal to this $1 US dollar. So it's the trust of what that dollar is providing you in exchange of value, what value it holds.
Okay.
And it's just what you believe. Like, it's just what you believe. But the problem is, if you like, let's say you flood the marketplace and all of a sudden it's all over the world. Like, it's just everywhere. The dollar is not hard to get. It's so not even not hard to get. It's just like the dollar's like, ocean water. Everybody just go pick some up off the ground. Who cares? Like, when you have that kind of,
where we are.
What's that?
You could argue that is where we are.
But that's where we don't know if we are we there. So then you look at the capacity in the market is what I like to look at and go, okay, like, we think $10 trillion is a lot, but like, did we have space really to go up to like 30 trillion? And we didn't even know. Like, it's just a big number to all. It's a fake made up number to everybody. And so it sounds like a big number. It sounded like a huge number in 2008. It was like 2 trillion or whatever, trillion, whatever. But like, did the world marketplace really have like, basically it's us muscling, right? We're muscling the market. So are we like really pretty much clean up to like 30 or $30 trillion? Like, what's the capacity before we become, not solvent in being it, or what, I'm not sure exactly what solvent's probably the right word in the world market. It's a guess for anybody. Honestly, I think the Fed has to have an idea. And then the question is the Fed trying to crash the dollar or not? Because if they're not, they're aware of this and they're just like, look, everybody can freak out, but we're good. Or they're like, 10 trillion was the tipping point. So, we're going to find out. I don't know.
There's probably so much behind the scenes that agreements between countries and
oh my gosh. Yeah.
I mean, I'm going to go a little bit conspiracy theory here, but you take the world history. There's always been family rulers of countries. That's how it's always been, right?
Yeah.
And I do believe democracy is just a layer of belief, but you're still ruled by families. I really do think so. So amongst the world, right? They don't want to lose. Why would a family want to give up their power? Because it doesn't necessarily mean they're bad people just because they don't want to give their power. They might believe what they're doing keeps society prosperous, right? So you don't want.
And maybe it does.
Maybe it does.
Maybe it does. Maybe the alternate to what we could have right now. It's only relative to where we stand, from the perspective the majority of people stand from. And maybe there's something we don't know. Maybe we really need to be more grateful for what we've been able to be provided at this point in time, because what the alternative is could be, way worse. I was just reading an article this morning I saw a guy, it's a famous, I guess, European soccer player. I don't know who he is. He's a black guy that, I guess came from starvation and hunger, and like I don't know what country he came from. He supported like the Sanglinese community or something. But anyway, so he, somebody made a comment that he had like a cracked iPhone, like jailbroken iPhone. This guy's making like incredible amounts of money, and his answer was like, "I don't need Ferraris, I don't need airplanes." He goes, "I came from no money, starving," and he goes, "I give my money to." He gives $70 or 70 euros every month to an entire community of like Sanglinese people. He's like, I give my money to people, to help them. And the reason he is like that is because of perspective, the perspective he stands in. He's like, so we might have it. And I know we have it good. I mean, think about where we sit and have this conversation. We have it really good. And he knew what it's like to be on the other side of that. Therefore, it changed the way that, he acted with his wealth. So the question is like, we just haven't seen, when does our generation or even our parents' generation truly seen the other side from America's, shoes? We're just not exposed to it.
Mm-hmm.
Like World War II that's the last exposure, but it wasn't on our soil. Right. And the people that were exposed to it that live over here now, especially like, Jewish people in like the concentration camps, their mindset's way different, than somebody born here in America in a second generation.
Yeah. I mean, it's all valid points. It's tough. It's tricky because there's definitely still people suffering in the world. So it's not like we can say, everything's great, because this is not the case. Like there's still just massive leaps we need to take as the entire world, right? But I get your point of like, we do still also have really good parts of the world too, right?
Yeah, I think it's probably not about making it like all purified. I think like the world, there's a certain amount of suffering and a certain amount of prosperity that needs to exist to like
Or diversity.
What's that?
Diversity is a good thing.
Yeah, in both suffering and prosperity. I think that the zone like counteracting forces, and the question is, are the scales too tipped right now in one direction or the other?
I mean, when you look at Hong Kong right now, friggin' possibly soon to be LA. I personally think it is off balance right now. I think it is tipped a little too much.
Yeah, I think the better indicator is going to be not America. That's the reality of it, because like we complain about things that just are so like we're too far. We are on the prosperity side of it as an entire country, even with the suffering that goes on. It's still minuscule compared to other areas. I think you really need to take a look, not you, but I think we need to take a look at, countries that maybe are somewhere between well-developed, but not like a superpower, and like just teetering on basically the middle class of countries, like the working middle class of countries, and go, where do they stand?
U.S. as the upper class.
Right. Yeah. We're just we're just not really in touch with what the rest of the world has going on. We're not, whether people say it or not, we're not, just like, I forget what it was, but how many like millions of people die from like malaria every year, right? If you brought malaria and killed everybody in the United States with malaria, it would change everything. But do it in a third world country, people don't even know that statistic.
Doesn't even make the news. Yeah.
Doesn't even exist. So like, there's definitely a gap there in between what we are, even with the internet, exposed to. Like, we're just not exposed.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's kind of the natural progression, though. If you just look at even the United States, like every state was basically almost its own country. It was very similar to Europe almost, right? But now we view each other as one, right? Like you don't.
Yeah. That's
so
true. I never thought about that.
I think we are growing. It's the same thing. It started with your township, then the city, right? It chains up, and I think the world is maturing. As crazy as that sounds,
well, the next step, then, the natural progression of what you just said, is the world just becomes one world order, as they say.
Yeah, no, I got to be careful with that. But
that's the progression,
and then the universe. But that's probably for another.
I'd love to. If we're gonna do this, like, let's do that in our lifetime. You know what I mean? Like the government just. I mean, this is. The Navy just said, hey, UFOs are real. Anybody care? Nobody really cared, because everybody's like, seriously, dude, like, if you don't think aliens are real, like, what, you're an idiot, right? So it's like, just expose us to the rest of the, universe. Like, why not at this point? Like, what do you like? What's the point in keeping everybody bottled up? Like, even if we suck, we probably suck compared to the rest of the universe. We probably are just like garbage, right? As like,
I imagine more like a teenager, a kid. You just
probably worse. Probably just like a violent, petty, vain society. Yeah, like, what do we have to add? The other thing is probably the universe is like, look, we really like seriously, we got to bring Earth along. Like, they have nothing to offer. Like, nothing to offer. That's what I'd be thinking, is like, how do I get rid of these? Like, do we have to tell them? Because what do we have to offer? There's nothing special about our brains that, I mean, we can't control
that of.
That what I know of, but there's nothing that we can do now. Like, we can't even control ourselves on our own planet.
Well, maybe that's part of the test. You got to grow up a little bit as a planet.
Yeah, that's can everybody, can the majority of individual people be decent souls, right? Or act in a way that is not belligerent. I just feel like we are just like the classless society of the universe. We are the rednecks of the universe is what I'm picturing. And just like we would be the Tiger Kings to the universe. Like, that's what I'm envisioning. And it's just like, they probably watch us like on TV and they're like, you got to see this shit. Like, this is unreal. But like, you can't write this, you can't script this, and then we're just Joe Exotic, sitting in jail right now, in a cage, because nobody wants, that's what I feel like. That's what it is at this point.
Well, hopefully we find out in our lifetime. That's the point of that. I'd like to know.
Yeah, I'd like to at least know why we suck. So, all right. I just, I don't know. You got anything else you wanted to cover today?
No, I mean, it's kind of same old right now, right? So who do we got tomorrow?
Tomorrow is Shane Torres. So we've got some really around the country big realtors coming on over the next few weeks. So some very high following producing realtors to get perspective in different marketplaces, which I think is good because, like I said today, I could only give you some information about our local market, and that's all I got. So it'll be interesting to gain that perspective over the next few weeks.
Absolutely. Cool.
Cool. All right.
See you guys tomorrow.
See you.